That's him.
Tonight, the president's son on trial. A jury just seated. What we're learning about who they are. First Lady Jill Biden appears in court, sitting in the front row to show support as President Biden issues a rare statement about Hunter Biden.
It's not often, if ever, in American history that you have the son of a sitting president of the United States being charged with 3 federal felonies and standing trial.
What to expect from the trial? The CBS Evening News starts now. Hunter Biden just left the courthouse where 6 men and 6 women have been seated in an American first, the first criminal trial for a child of a sitting president. Good evening, I'm Nora O'Donnell, and thank you for being with us. Those jurors were selected after attorneys on both sides questioned them about their views on gun rights, addiction, and politics. The president's only surviving son is charged with 3 felony counts related to his alleged illegal purchase and possession of a firearm in 2018. Tomorrow, the prosecution and the defense will present opening statements, which could include sordid details about Hunter Biden's love life and addiction battles. The First Lady was in the courtroom with the president not far, remaining at his home in Delaware. CBS's Scott McFarland was inside the courtroom for today's proceedings.
A show of support on the first day of trial for President Biden's son Hunter. First Lady Jill Biden, on her 73rd birthday, sat directly behind him. And in a rare statement on the case, the president said, "Jill and I love our son, and we're so proud of the man he is today." Hunter Biden is charged with making false statements when he bought a Colt 38 handgun 6 years ago by not acknowledging on the application he was using or addicted to drugs.
I've made mistakes in my life and wasted opportunities and privileges I was afforded. For that, I'm responsible.
Prosecutors are expected to call as a witness Beau Biden's widow, Hallie Biden. She and Hunter were romantically linked at the time of the gun purchase.
I had returned that fall of 2018 after my most recent relapse in California with the hope of getting clean through a new therapy and reconciling with Hallie. Neither happened.
Prosecutors will argue Hallie Biden found the gun in Hunter's truck in 2018 and tossed it in a dumpster. According to court documents, Hunter texted her, "Are you insane? Tell me now. This is no game." Hallie Biden wrote back, "Check yourself into local rehab, Hunter. This has all got to stop." Also expected to testify, his ex-wife, Kathleen, who's currently in a legal battle with him over unpaid alimony.
Regardless of how this comes out, even if he's acquitted, this is not going to be a pleasant experience, to say the least.
Prosecutors will also show jurors text messages illustrating Hunter's drug problem, including one he wrote around the time he was waiting for a drug dealer in Wilmington. "I was sleeping on a car, smoking crack on 4th Street and Rodney." An agreement that would have spared Biden from trial and prison collapsed here last year when the judge determined the sides didn't fully agree on the terms.
It blew up at the last minute. It was Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown when everyone thought it was about to be sealed, done, and delivered, and it wasn't. And they were back to square one.
Opening statements begin tomorrow morning in a trial likely to last 1 to 2 weeks. Hunter Biden also has pleaded not guilty in a different case, a tax case brought by the same prosecutor in California. That case set to go to trial in September. Nora, that's just as the presidential race hits high gear.
Scott McFarland, thank you. Today, the Israeli military reported that 4 more hostages abducted in the October 7th attack are dead, and their bodies are still being held by Hamas. News of their deaths now increasing pressure on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to bring the remaining hostages home. CBS Imtiaz Tayeb reports from Tel Aviv on who these men were and how Hamas used them for war messaging.
It was in the ruins of the southern Gaza city of Khan Yunis, where Nadav Popplewell, Chaim Perry, Amiram Cooper, and Yoram Metzger were declared dead by the Israeli military. This Hamas propaganda video, released in December, shows 3 of them still alive. It's not known how they died, but an army spokesman says it likely happened months ago. The discovery of the remains of even more hostages has only intensified the pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu. On Saturday, over 120,000 Israelis took to the streets of Tel Aviv to demand he move forward with a deal to release the hostages and end the war in Gaza, as outlined by President Biden.
The most important thing is bringing them back right now, no matter what.
Tonight, Netanyahu insisting he has not been pressured to dismiss the ceasefire deal by members of his own extreme right-wing coalition after 2 ultra-nationalist leaders threatened to quit and topple his government over the plan, saying, The goals of the war, chief among them, is the elimination of Hamas. As the misery across Gaza only deepens, according to health officials, 40 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli strikes over the past day alone.
And with Prime Minister Netanyahu insisting on eliminating Hamas and Hamas continuing to refuse a truce without a permanent ceasefire, President Biden's outline may not be achievable, Nora, and that could mean many more months of war.
Imtiaz Tayeb, thank you. Here at home, dramatic images out of California show a wildfire devouring hillsides about an hour east of San Francisco. The Corral Fire is the state's largest so far this year. Right now, it is about 75% contained, but this week, the fire danger is going to ramp up with blistering triple-digit temperatures. CBS's Ben Tracy is on the scene in Northern California.
Fueled by fierce winds, the Corral Fire exploded this weekend, scorching more than 14,000 acres, jumping major roadways, and bearing down on nearby homes.
It was the scariest night of my life.
Daniel Perez stayed behind to help first responders.
The firefighters actually dipped the hose into my pool. Then all of a sudden, the fire came from that direction.
It burned down his neighbor's home. The older couple living there evacuated safely. Perez's home survived, but his garage and the memories inside of it did not.
It's irreplaceable. This is the comforter that was in my daughter's crib. My grandmother made that, and it's ruined.
I'm sorry.
Yep, it's devastating.
The fire behavior was so aggressive, it just ripped through all this tall grass.
What worries firefighters is that this is happening so early in the so-called wildfire season.
For the most part, we don't refer to it as fire season anymore. It's almost like there are no rules anymore.
In a warming climate, scientists say spring is arriving earlier and is warmer, melting the snowpack more quickly and drying out vegetation, which becomes fuel for fires.
This seems kind of early for a fire like this. Are you surprised by this?
You're absolutely right. To have a fire that was more than 14,000 acres plus in the beginning of June is a bit eye-opening.
And it's about to get even more eye-opening, and that's because a heat dome, which is an area of high pressure that traps hot air like the lid on a boiling pot, that's about to hit the American West. And Nora, that is going to send temperatures up into the above 100 degrees, and that's going to raise the risk of more fires like this one.
Ben Tracy, thank you for being there. President Biden is under intense political pressure to curb illegal immigration. It's a top concern for voters and one that Donald Trump and his allies have seized on. And tomorrow, Biden is expected to take action, issuing a major executive order allowing him to partially shut down the asylum process at the southern border. CBS News was the first to break the story. And tonight, our Nancy Cordes is at the White House. Nancy, good to see you. So I understand this is going to be the most restrictive border policy ever enacted by a Democratic president. Why now?
Well, Nora, the White House had been hoping that Congress would take this step. It didn't. This represents a major change to immigration policy, and we're told that the president is going to sign this executive order tomorrow. CBS News has learned that this new order will allow U.S. immigration officials to deport migrants without processing their asylum claims anytime the number of illegal border crossings tops a specific threshold. And sources tell CBS that threshold is likely to be 2,500 migrant apprehensions a day, which means this partial ban could be triggered on day one because the number of apprehensions at the southern border in May was higher than that. It was 3,800 a day, according to the Border Patrol. Right now, of course, asylum seekers are allowed to stay in the U.S. until their case is processed, which can take years. And critics say that creates an incentive for those who don't qualify to come to the U.S. anyway. This new executive order is almost certainly going to face legal challenges down the road. The White House appears to be going this route now because Republicans rejected a bipartisan Senate deal that would have done something similar. Nora?
Nancy Cordes with that big news tonight. Thank you so much. Mexico is a key partner in trying to curb illegal immigration, and today President Biden called to congratulate the country's historic new president-elect. Claudia Sheinbaum is the first woman and the first Jewish person to win the presidency. CBS's Enrique Acevedo reports tonight on what Americans can expect from Mexico's next president.
Claudia Sheinbaum's victory was an absolute landslide. For the first time in the 200 years of the Republic, I will become the first woman president of Mexico, she told supporters. The 61-year-old former climate scientist and mayor of Mexico City will not only become the country's first female head of state, but is the first from a Jewish family. Her grandparents fled the Holocaust by moving to Mexico. Yes, we women can have a voice.
You feel empowered.
Sheinbaum's election marks a historic milestone in a nation which gave women the right to vote in the 1950s. Among the pressing issues facing Mexico's new president, cartel violence and the migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border.
And the main concern that we have right now is that a lot of immigrants from Central America that want to get into the U.S. are getting stuck in Mexico. They don't want to be here, but they are stuck here.
During his presidency, Andrés Manuel López Obrador stemmed the flow of migrants into the U.S., a policy criticized by many in Mexico. Little change is expected from Sheinbaum, who is López Obrador's protege.
Well, I think a presidency from Claudia is going to look similar to López Obrador.
In that call between President Biden and President-elect Sheinbaum, both leaders emphasized their commitment on continuing cooperation on key issues like immigration, border security, and trade. Nora?
Enrique, thank you so much. Here's a look at tonight's other top stories, starting on Capitol Hill, where Dr. Anthony Fauci was grilled for more than 3 hours by Republican lawmakers. The former government scientist is considered the face of the COVID pandemic response. As CBS's Nicole Killian shows us, it was a heated hearing.
Dr. Fauci called GOP claims that he covered up information about the coronavirus simply preposterous.
Do you agree that there was a push to downplay the lab leak theory?
Not on my part.
Really?
Really?
At times, the hearing devolved into attacks.
That man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in prison.
Don't let him suspend.
Dr. Fauci also got emotional about some of the death threats he's received.
They've involved my wife and my 3 daughters.
And Dr. Fauci was questioned about social distancing and vaccine mandates and said that public health officials should reevaluate.
As Americans get ready for summer, beaches are closed in a San Diego town after a shark attack over the weekend. CBS's Carter Evans has more on the swimmers' terrifying ordeal and how scientists are trying to find the culprit.
Well, the water here in Southern California has been murky here recently due to algae from red tide, so no one in the group saw the shark coming. Now, the victim is about 100 yards offshore when the shark bit him. He was north of San Diego in Del Mar. He sustained significant injuries to his torso and arm, but is expected to make a full recovery. Now, experts tell me this was likely a juvenile white shark. Now, they plan to take a DNA sample from the victim's wetsuit and compare it to DNA in the water to try and determine if the offending shark is still around.
And finally tonight, Biles is back. The gymnastic genius makes history again. Here's CBS's Elise Preston.
Simone Biles is breaking her own records with another historic sweep in competition. The gymnastics superstar soared her way into her 9th U.S. all-around title. She won the gold for every individual event at the U.S. Championships in Fort Worth, Texas. The 27-year-old is expected to compete in her 3rd Olympic Games in Paris this summer. Some of her likely teammates are over a decade younger. Biles, who already has 37 Olympic and world medals, heads to the Olympic trials later this month.
Elise Preston, thank you. Next in Eye on America, part 2 of our investigation into nursing homes run by for-profit companies and the complaints that many are putting profits before patients. With more seniors in the U.S. than ever before, nearly 56 million, according to the last census, we've been taking a closer look at a growing trend in nursing homes. Many are now backed by profit-seeking investors from real estate and private equity. In tonight's Eye on America, CBS News contributor Lisa Ling has part 2 of our investigation into claims these facilities may have neglected patients in pursuit of profits.
That's where all the complications started at Oakland Heights.
Oakland Heights is the nursing home where 85-year-old Ruby Frazier spent a month after a fall sent her to the hospital in November 2022. Her granddaughter Maisha and daughter Yolanda told us Ruby struggled to get the attention of staff.
My mom would push the button
for help, and they wouldn't acknowledge her.
How often was she telling you this?
Every time
All
we
the time.
Maisha and Yolanda say they watched as Ruby's condition quickly deteriorated until one visit when Ruby, who was bedbound, began gasping for air.
I said, would y'all please call the ambulance? No, we're not going to call. I said, yes, you are.
Emergency room doctors diagnosed Ruby with pneumonia and severe sepsis. She had also developed these bed sores on her heels, wounds the family says Oakland Heights staff hid from them.
They wouldn't even turn on her. It's like they didn't give a doggone.
Oakland Heights is operated by Aspen Skilled Healthcare, a for-profit chain of more than 24 California nursing homes. Our CBS News investigation found in 2022, Aspen facilities moved more than $25 million, much of it Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements to companies related to Aspen.
Nursing home ownership has become very complicated.
Last year, the Biden administration forced individual nursing homes to disclose more information about their owners. But Harvard professor David Grabowski told us that still doesn't explain where taxpayer money is flowing.
Does Aspen have particular investors? There's no ability to peel that back with the federal data. Basically, we need to know for every nursing home in the country how they're spending public dollars.
Research suggests within the nursing home industry, extracting profit through payment of inflated rents and management fees to related companies is widespread.
So how did things change when Aspen took over operations?
For the most part, I would say the care became suboptimal.
Dr. Takeshi Matsumoto is a private physician who sees some of his patients in this LA nursing home, which Aspen took over from a nonprofit in 2016.
Just taking care of some basic needs, like, for example, taking care of the residents' dentures. The dentures were still caked with old food.
I just feel like she suffered.
Maisha and Yolanda told us Ruby's wounds never healed. She died last year, 5 months after she left Oakland Heights. They've sued Aspen, alleging the company knowingly and deliberately understaffed and unfunded Oakland Heights to maximize profits at the expense of patient care.
If you had an opportunity to address the folks at Aspen Skilled Healthcare, what would you say to them?
What if the shoe was on the other foot? If it was your loved one and your loved one wasn't being treated correctly?
Aspen Skilled Healthcare declined to comment for this report. In a court filing, the company denied all of Maisha and Yolanda's allegations. Nora, in a statement, an industry lobbying group said financial moves like the ones Aspen made were common business practices to help streamline services, and notes there have been thousands of closures, ownership changes, and bankruptcies in recent years.
Such important reporting. Lisa Ling, thank you so much. Sources tell CBS News an accused serial killer is about to be hit with a new charge. That's next. Suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann is expected to be charged with the murder of a 5th victim later this week. He's already charged with murdering 4 women. This comes after police recently conducted a new search of Heuermann's home and a separate wooded area on New York's Long Island. Heart of America is next. Finally, tonight's Heart of America with 2 brothers at the top of their class. Meet Joseph and Joshua Garcia. This weekend, the fraternal twin brothers graduated as valedictorian and salutatorian at St. Anthony High School in Milwaukee. Between the two, they were accepted by more than 30 colleges and received over $5 million in scholarship offers. They will both attend Lawrence University in the fall in Appleton, Wisconsin. Joseph plans to study music, while Joshua will major in computer science. Older brother Joseph said neither could have done it without the other.
I am really proud of my brother. Like, I know he is with me because he helped us as brothers, like, to be competitive, but also to help each other on our academic success.
Joseph and Joshua Garcia, they are tonight's Heart of America. And that is tonight's CBS Evening News. I'm Nora O'Donnell. Good night.